Hey folks, welcome back. We're turning up the energy now because in today's XL 10 Minute Leaders Live, which are insights into the world of leaders from all different walks of life, we're going to pump up the volume a little bit because I'm joined by my next guest who is, by his own words, wildly entertaining, and you're going to see why in a minute. Joining us all the way from North America, Tyler Foley. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Oh, Graham, it is a joy and a pleasure to be here. Well, thank you for having me over to the wonderful South China Sea. I'm excited.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. There's a bit of a history there, right? So
There
we've got
is,
10
yeah.
minutes together. Are you ready, Tyler?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Let's rock and roll. All right, 10 minutes on the clock with Tyler Foley. It's going to be a wildly entertaining 10 minutes. Let's go. Tyler, your business card, what does it say?
It says nothing because I don't have one because I don't like business cards. I like to be able to actually physically grab your information into my phone, and I usually like to initiate contact. So if it did say anything, it would say speaker, author, father, and husband.
Okay, all right, but he doesn't have one. Author
No.
of what? What do you write about?
The I am the number one best-selling author of The Power to Speak Naked.
Let's
It
bring
is
bring
a
that
book on
forward.
public
Bring
speaking.
it,
Oh yeah,
bring it
hey,
forward.
yeah, yeah.
There you
Look at
go.
that.
Is that your naked body there?
Wouldn't it be great if it was? I would love to have that dude's lats. Yeah, no, that is definitely a stock footage. But I think we did a good job of like at least approximating me.
The double.
The
Okay,
double.
speaking naked, what's that about?
Well, there's a multiple layers to it, but really quickly on the surface, I actually want people to have the power to speak naked. Like I legitimately have the confidence. If you asked me to strip nude now and there wasn't like a whole bunch of laws that would prevent me from doing it, I would do it right now. I have the confidence in the messaging that I do that I would take the stage naked because I don't need anything but me. And I want to be so engaging and I want the people who read the book to be so engaging that
Hmm.
they could go and take the stage in the emperor's new clothes and everybody would be paying attention to up here and not what was going down here because the messaging was that powerful. And subsurface to that, I don't think people need all the props and all the powerpoints and all of the presentation things. Like you can just present. You don't
Hmm.
need the gimmicks. You don't need a PowerPoint. So I want people to be able to just speak without anything but themselves. And then in the very, very, very root level of it, I think there's a power in story. And I want people to be able to expose themselves to the raw, naked truth, say the thing that they're afraid to say to their audience, because that's usually the thing that needs to be said and needs to be heard. So a couple of layers to the title, and that's why I
Hmm.
have it that way.
I like it. I imagine that a lot of people want to break through the barrier that's holding them back in getting out there and speaking. They can see somebody like yourself who is obviously confident and very comfortable at speaking. So I imagine some people think, well, that's okay for Tyler because look at him. He's a confident guy. He's a good looking chap. He's very comfortable in his own skin, but I'm not. So, what do people get wrong when they think about public speaking, when they think about getting on stage? What are some of the common myths people have that you like to bust when you get hold of them?
Well, the first one that I like to absolutely shatter, and thank you for asking the question, is the fact that people think that they're afraid to speak in public. They're not. I challenge anybody who comes to me and says, no, you have no idea. I'm part of the 77% that feel that they are terrified of public speaking. I'll ask them, when was the last time you ordered food in a restaurant?
Hmm.
Because if you ordered food in a restaurant, you were speaking in public. And they're like, yeah, yeah, but it's different. I can't talk to strangers. I'm like, did you know the wait staff before you ordered your chicken and waffles? Because if you didn't, you were speaking to a stranger in public. And further to it, you were asking for what you wanted and you got it. So
Hmm.
people are not afraid of public speaking. What they're afraid of is public judgment. And so what I do is break down the myth of what the judgments that we tend to project onto our audience. We think that our audience thinks one thing, and the reality is the audience is on your side. Nobody has
Hmm.
ever, people who are watching this live right now and know that if they come onto the XL podcast, that you are going to have really, really good guests for them, and that you are going to provide content. Nobody comes to this thing expecting to be disappointed. They're expecting to learn something, and so me as a speaker, all I have to do is deliver. So the myth that the audience is judging you is incorrect. It's false. They're
Hmm.
on your.
How does that manifest in people's head? What's that sort of dark voice that people say it talks to them when they go on stage? Because I
It's
imagine
the
it comes
negative
out in different
self-talk.
ways. Yeah.
It's the thing that we all have, right? Oh, you're not good enough. What you have to say is not interesting, or worse, it's been
Mm.
said before. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. It's not unique. It's not individual. It's not world changing. It's not life altering. And the reality is it doesn't need to be any of those things. Your story is your story. And if you have the courage to come up and say it, no one has had the experience that you have. But here's the thing, they may be struggling with a similar situation. And if you can give them your story and tell them what you have learned in the process and invite them on the journey with you, you get empathy, you get understanding, you create harmony. And that's when we have the power to make real impact and real change, is when we can open up and share our story. Because I promise you, everyone has a story,
Hmm.
and somebody out there needs to hear yours. It may not be the entire world, but you won't know who your audience is until you open up and speak.
Yeah, I love this idea about the fact that everybody has a story to tell. In some ways, traditional media, society, education disempowers people by
Mhm.
implanting this idea that your story's not worthy. You know, I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not Steve Jobs. Look at Steve Jobs. Look at Tyler Foley. Great storytellers, full of confidence. Look at me, little old me. I'm just a guy doing my thing. You know, I didn't pass with any major achievements at university. I haven't got $1 billion company. Why the hell would anybody listen to my story? How do you take somebody like that and then pull their story out of them?
Very simply, I tell them I was there. Like when I look at my life, it's not until I step outside of it and I do the 360-degree view from 20,000 feet in the air that I look and I go, hey, look at, like, I've got some fun stuff, but me stuck in my head viewing the world from within.
Hmm.
I do the same thing. I go, well, I don't, I'm just me. I'm Tyler. My most exciting part of my day is when I step on a Lego that my daughter has left out. Like that to me is my story. But when somebody goes, well, but look, your father passed away when you were 6 years old. You had a medical incident at 17 that left the left side of your body paralyzed for a year. You've been self-employed since 6 years old. You've been public speaking for 35 years, and on and on and on. I go, oh, well, when you put it like that, it sounds kind of interesting.
Hmm.
And the thing is we can all do that. One of the things that I do in all of my workshops is I have everybody break their lives into 5 time periods, 5 epochs. So however old you are, you divide by 5. For me, I'm 42. So I divide by 5, I get 5 epochs of 8 years each. And if anybody remembers grade 3 math, yeah, but you got a remainder there. There's some extra twos there, Tyler. Yeah, well, you take the remainder, you just tack it onto the beginning. So for me, 0 to 10, 11 to 18, so forth and so on until you get to the ripe old age of 42 right now. And I look at what were the most significant things that happened in those 5 time periods. Everybody can do that. I promise you, if you look, there are at least 5 things that have happened in your life that had significance to you. And you just analyze that. That's your story, right? If picture you going on to an episode of This Is Your Life, that great 1960s TV show. This is your life, Graham Brown. And we go
Music.
through and we look at it. There's guaranteed to be at least a few milestones in there. And I know with an accent like that, living in Singapore, you have at least one story packed within there
Oh,
that is worth looking at.
many stories, Tyler. How long have we got? So I love it. I love what you're doing and the fact that you're giving people tools as well as just saying you've got to tell a story. You're breaking it down. The key here is breaking it and chunking it down because what seems to be a very vast mountain to climb is really just lots of little summits, isn't it? That you're saying, okay, break this down into 5. Everybody can break their life down into 5. So if I break my life down into 5, now looking at the actionable points, this really cues up nicely, and this hasn't been rehearsed, everybody watching this. The next question, which is, I want you to think now about your story, Tyler, and I'm willing to commit a large budget to the movie of the Tyler autobiography, but I want to be sold on the opening scene that's going to hook me in. So let's do this because it's not always chronological. You're writing the script for a movie about your life. Describe the opening scene for us. And it's not, okay, I was born and then I went to school. It's got to be, what's that bam scene that pulls me in? I think, I want to know more. What happens next?
honestly, if I had to have an opening scene to my life, it would be a close up of a 6-year-old sitting on a toilet reading a comic book doing a number two. And I know that sounds terrible, but that's what I was doing the moment my life changed. And it would be a tight shot, a very tight cropped thing, kid, comic book, toilet, pants down around the ankles, and just flipping through, minding his own business and doing his business. And then all of a sudden, off camera, you were going to hear the world's most horrific, blood curdling scream. And that's what I heard when the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and my family physician came to the door to tell my mom that my father had passed away. And it's that sound that haunts me and drives me and pushes me forward with just about everything that I do every day. And if I needed to open up the movie of my life, if you were giving a biography, that would be how my movie, that would be how my autobiography would start, because that sound haunts me to this day. And it is the key motivator in everything that I do. So that would be how I would open up the scene to any movie that stars my story.
It's powerful. How does that motivate you? Because I imagine for some people, it might send them into a very dark place.
Well, I mean, at the time it did. It was a dark period to learn that your father is never coming home. But I also didn't outwardly grieve my father's passing for almost 6 years. But because of his passing, so many other things and avenues opened up for me. The reason I got into stage was as an outlet for my emotions at 6 years old. If I hadn't gotten into stage, I wouldn't be who I am today. I also had an entire community rally around my sister, myself, and my mother to support us. I had incredible mentors show up. I had an entire village of men, essentially, in a small town, rally around me. And I was exposed to so much knowledge, so much information, and so much guidance and tutelage growing up that I wouldn't have gotten if my father was still alive. So as horrific as it started, you need to have the low so that you can see where I achieve the high. You need the contrast. And knowing that my mom sacrificed the way that she did to make sure that my life was as normal, if not better, then it didn't matter that I didn't have a father. My mom made sure that I never lacked in any way. And she supported me and has been my biggest cheerleader in everything that I do, even when I didn't deserve it. At 17, when I was the most obnoxious little brat on the planet, she still was nurturing to me. And when I had my medical incident that left me paralyzed, she was there to support me and to find me the best medical team possible. So everything sprung from that first little bit, and there was such a light at the end of the tunnel because of it. So that's how it has to start.
Powerful stuff. Tyler Foley, everybody. Hold that book up once more time.
Gladly and happily.
Amazing. A real privilege. Tyler, where do we find out more about you?
Anybody who wants can find me at SeanTylerFoley.com, SeanTylerFoley, spelled the proper Irish way. SeanTylerFoley.com. Anybody can come there. I've got all my information listed. And for any of your listeners, by the way, who do go to the website, I would encourage them, Graham, to click on the method. It's a free download for them. 11-page booklet will give them 5 insider secrets that I've learned over 35 years. But I'm not going to give them that if they don't do me and you a favor right now. I know the amount of effort that goes into the show that you're doing. So I want them all to, right now, we're on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. So all they have to do is give a like and a thumbs up. Right now, it isn't going to cost them anything. Like and a thumbs up. And if they do that, and then they go over to SeanTylerFoley.com, I'll give them the method.
He's a good lad. He's well trained. He knows how to work an audience. And you can learn that as well. So go to his website and check it out and go and download that freebie. So, Sean Tyler Foley, in his full Irish glory, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure and a lot of fun.
Graham, it was my joy and my pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on.